What's up, guys? My name is Chaotic. Back at you guys a little bit today. Coming at you guys with a lit one. Hope you guys stay hot, stay lifted. Coming at you guys with a story about weed plant. Yeah, so I basically traveled across the state with some marijuana plants. At least to say, man, I didn't get caught. And this is the story of how I pulled this off. Basically, don't ever attempt this. Don't ever attempt it. Not a good idea. Check the laws of your state as well. But I don't think you're supposed to be traveling with weed plants across any state because it's not federally legal. So this is actually pretty sketchy. So please be careful about ever attempting this. So yeah, let's get into this video right now, man. So if you guys are, smoking up or high or whatever you're on, let me know down in the comments what you guys are on. So yeah, let's do this shit, bro. On the road to 2K subscribers as well. Subscribe and leave a comment, leave a like. All right, so this story took place when I was leaving California to move to the South. Now, I was going to Louisiana. That was the first state I moved when I went to the South, and I was just like, well, fuck it, But I didn't really have a choice on going there, This was actually just a family move, but I ended up not liking it. Right now I'm in Florida, but we actually ended up moving, after that, but I didn't move with weed plants that time. It was only when I moved from California to the South. So I had 3 weed plants up in my fucking car, and yeah, they were smelling. Actually, they were fucking budding, man. So not only did I keep weed plants, to travel with, because I was willing to not give these girls up, man. I was just really like, man, I really do not want to kill these plants. I was just growing them, and I'm like, fuck, we have to move. So we actually, while in a flowering stage, put these bitches in a fucking plastic bin, and we cut some holes in that shit, and I just, prayed for the best. And then they survived. So, yeah, that's when you're telling a story as well. So, I'm going to tell you guys later on how it survived and all that. So, what I did before, leaving, I made sure I watered them pretty good before, and I actually tied a fucking plastic bag around the pot, so the soil, whatever, in case it falls out from the bumpy roads, whatever, it doesn't get everywhere, doesn't leave a mess. So I was just ready to fucking do all of that to set it up. I mean, it's really easy, just fucking do that, I guess, if you're really trying to attempt this shit. But like I said, don't attempt this, because we also actually had to drive a specific route away from any potential checkpoints, because if we actually reach those checkpoints, obviously they're probably gonna check us, and we don't want any of that. No, we ain't going to jail. So basically, yeah, this is real risky. I would never attempt this. Don't ever do it. It's just not good, It definitely will cause harm for harm reduction as well. Don't ever attempt that, man. But yeah, back on the road, back on the story. So yeah, it was a pretty good, actually ingenious idea. It worked out, really panned out. We actually stayed at a hotel because it took 3 days to drive from California all the way to Louisiana, and that's what's staying at a hotel. But it takes a while, a lot of hours driving right there for sure. So yeah, we left the weed plants, in the car while we, checked out these hotels and shit. And yeah, everything was good. Like you could only smell it, I think, if you got close to the car. But I checked, like after we were about to go up in the hotel to make sure it didn't smell. It kind of did, but not much. It wasn't flowering a full amount, but it was starting to flower, so they were starting to smell. It was just sketchy though, dude. I was kind of paranoid about that shit, but I knew we could pull it off as long as no one fucking came around. But honestly, now I think about it in hindsight, yeah, a cop could have easily smelled that shit. If you pulled him next to us, if you drove past us, probably, you never know, they could have caught a whiff. But maybe they wouldn't have said anything, because who knows, they probably would have known where it was coming from, unless they can, unless you drive past them or something. But anyways, yeah, man, keep the windows down. We kept the smell from leaking out as much as possible. But this was actually during the summer as well, so the fact that we pulled this off when it was hot as fuck and humid and these plants survived, bro, it was awesome. I would say, like, traveling with weed plants is actually, like, the plants aren't gonna die right away. I guess it's just as like taking other plants with you, house plants, putting in the car, and you go on a road trip. It was just like a little road trip with weed plants, bro. It was fun. Honestly, I would say it was pretty awesome how I pulled that off, and I thought it was definitely worth the video to make. So yeah, man. Back to the story though. So yeah, it was a pretty long road to get over to Louisiana fucking state, bro. It took 3 days to drive. 3 days in total of driving. Fucking many hours of fucking, man. I think actually, yeah, it took 3 days of driving, but we only drove in 10 hours, 10-hour bursts. So it takes 10 hours, so it's 30 hours or something to get there. So it takes, yeah, a day and a quarter to fucking get there, like, without stopping. So yeah, takes a while. But yeah, we pretty much almost crossed the whole goddamn country with weed plants. It was hilarious. Like, damn, I drove across this whole damn country with marijuana, man, in my goddamn back of my car. Bro, that shit was sketch. Like, let's be honest, that is not the best thing to do and not the best safety. So yeah, just don't ever attempt that stuff. But you know, it's a funny video to make. I would like to make this video to show you guys what not to do. Don't ever follow my footsteps. This is all for pure entertainment, you know. It's very entertaining to hear about this, I'm sure, because it just, you know, who travels across with weed plants up in their back? I mean, I guess other people do, like with FedEx trucks and shit, but this is just like some on-off, like personal use stuff. And yeah, people don't do this stuff usually. I guess it's only people that are growing. Yeah, so basically smoke with some weed plants, bro, pretty successfully, I would say. 3 plants are pretty manageable. I think any more than that would be a bad idea, especially if they're flowering. And it doesn't even matter, they're still gonna stink a little bit, you know, if they're pretty, you know, like up there. If they're adult plants, they're gonna smell regardless. So yeah, you don't want to fuck around. Be careful, you know. Careful with, you know, driving past those checkpoints. You know, look for, if you're gonna travel with stuff, don't pass those checkpoints. Look it up on the internet, and please don't pass any cops as much as possible. You know, stay away from them, and don't be doing any sketch shit. Don't even drive sketch either. Don't drive like you know you have something in the back of your car. Those motherfuckers can smell your goddamn anxiety, you know, when they stop you and they ask you questions. So be careful, man. But anyways, yeah, so yeah, when we got to our new place, man, they were stinking up in that goddamn bin. I remember opening it, and I actually opened up a bit to air it out, make sure there's no mold or whatever, just to check them out, and they were good, man. They were doing well. I think they started changing a little bit of color by then, but obviously that's obvious because they're, you know, without sun for 3 days, you know, so that's understandable. That's definitely foreseeable. But what I thought was interesting was basically what happened after, you know, we got to our new place, after we traveled with these weed plants. So I was like, bro, this is gonna be some killer ass weed, you know. When I harvest this stuff, this is gonna be some rare ass weed. Like, this weed is some travel weed, man. This weed has been across the fucking country. If I sell this weed to someone, I could fucking flex like a motherfucker, bro. I gotta be like, yo, this is fucking out of this country weed. Like, this is from this country, bro. Like, it's road country weed. It's just road trip weed. That's what I would call this strain, you know. Now that I think about it, yeah, I'm gonna call that strain road trip weed, bro. Road trip strain. So it's really what it was, man. But yeah, it's almost like, what if it picked up some fucking special, like, what if you have to, like, you have a road trip with your weed and make it dank? You never know. But you know, it wasn't the best weed I ever grew, but the fact that I grew actually, I think, up to an ounce from those 3 weed plants that, you know, were kind of sick, was pretty good, you know, but not sustainable. Not for that much time invested. You know, you kind of want more harvest than that. But I noticed with personal use, it's kind of hard to grow a lot of weed because everyone else has all these devices and shit. When you just have a little tiny grow room, you can't grow that much weed, let's be honest. So yeah, you have to get a bigger grow room to grow it. So this weed, let me tell you how it came out. So I grew it for the next 2 or 3 months. I revived those plants, by the way. They came back within a week or 2 after, you know, suffering in that bin for 3 days. And I was just ecstatic. I was like, these motherfucking plants really survived, and this is about to be road chip weed. I'm about to smoke up. This is gonna be some good shit. And it did get me high, you know, but obviously it's not gonna be the same as a top shelf strain because, man, they have everything down with that stuff. All the genetics, all the fucking nutrients they need, all the water, irrigation, they have everything. So it's never gonna be as dank as, like, you know, dispensary weed or something on the street, unless that person knows how to grow and they've been growing for a while. I noticed it takes time to be a good grower. So I've only grown around like a dozen plants so far, but I'm not an actual grower, you know, but I don't stay consistent. So you have to stay consistent with these things to get good at them. It was all right then. I got a pretty good yield, I would say, from road trip weed, from weed I've stuffed in a fucking plastic bin, cut holes in it like it's like a goddamn prison for the marijuana plant, and that shit survived, bro. That shit was awesome, and I smoked that shit and it was good. So yeah, I would say if you're traveling with weed plants, it's definitely gonna work out. They can't really die that quick. They're not gonna die that quick. Don't be worried if you have to stuff them in a bin like that, because they're gonna be revived. They could be revived. So I found that really awesome about how, yeah, I mean, it's a weed, so it's pretty resilient, I would say, I guess, but, you know, it's not willing to die, you know. If the plant's still alive, it just knows it's stressed out because whatever the fuck is going through, you just, you know, take it out of that bin, love on it, care for it again, it will revive and it will grow you some sweet bud. They all grew some pretty big buds, I would say, from being stuffed in a bin, you know, so it was awesome. And like I said, it was during the flowering stage, so I was worried it would affect the flowering stage. It might have had, I'll never know for sure, but I grew what I could from it, you know. The plants didn't get too big because the pots weren't too big, but they were medium sized, so it got me a medium sized harvest. So whatever, you know, that's a small harvest, I guess I'd say, but it is what it is, man. Traveling with weed plants is not advisable. Obviously, it's a very illegal thing to do, federally illegal, by the way, and you will do prison time probably for something like that. So be careful, man. Definitely a what is it? Definitely a felony, and that's definitely not a felony you would ever get a job with again. If if they see your record stating that you travel across the state with weed plants. It's just not gonna, it's not obviously not gonna look good on you. It's gonna show that you're irresponsible as fuck. Like, who could it be more irresponsible than that? So it's gonna look really bad. So be careful, very careful. Know your shit, and I don't know, man. If you have to, take a chance, but don't exceed the amount of 3 plants I would advise, because it's harder to hide more than plants. You know, it's harder to hide more plants, and it's also harder to hide bigger plants. So I would say if they're too big, you might not be able to do it. So catch the plants when they're young. If you're gonna travel with weed plants, do not travel when they're in their flowering stage. That's what makes this story funny, because I actually traveled with them. I traveled with them in their flowering stage, not when they were just like growing or like, you know, young, infant, little baby plants. These plants were fucking fully grown, flowering. So they're mature. They're fucking little teenager plants, and they're getting a little suffered there. But it worked out, man. It worked out in the end. Never know. Maybe they released some good stress terpenes up in them buds. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Stay high, stay lifted, and stay tuned for the next video. Peace out to the next time, and leave it down in the comments what video suggestions you have from me. All right, see you guys. Peace out.